All right, we are live with a special episode of Total Justice Gaming, interrupting our normal record. We were going to talk about the Atlanta PTC. We were going to have Mark tell us about his grand journey and adventures and all the shenanigans he went down. But then DarkStalkers happened, and I am really out of focus. And now I'm back in focus, even better. I may actually look better as a giant fuzzy blob. Maybe. We don't know. Mark, it's good to have you back. I missed you.
Thanks for having me back. I'm already a giant fuzzy blob, so we're quite all right. I mean, it's no big deal. I've got a lot to talk about as far as standard and looking at the kind of aftermath of the Atlanta PTC, but we're gonna save that for next week's show. The spoiling of all of the tin contents now is a pretty big deal, so we're gonna take a little while. This show, we're shooting for 90 minutes to 2 hours. It may go a little longer, but we're going to do a full set review of the DarkStalkers tins for you right now.
I am gonna point out some stuff. In order to save time, guys, we're not gonna be as meticulous as we were with the Mega Man stuff. We're not gonna sit there and go through each and every number. We're probably gonna give you the speed and the damage and the abilities. I mean, the cards are pretty much spoiled for everybody. You'll be able to see them pretty clearly on the show itself. So that'll ease back some of the time frame in case everybody's on a locked time limit. I know we don't generally, or anymore, rather, go over as long as we used to, but this is going to take some steps to, make it a little bit easier for us. And if you are joining us, go ahead, and we got the question and answers forum up on the video. Once you guys join us, feel free to drop those in. And if we got time at the end of the show, by all means, post them up and we will answer them. Other than that, hit up Mark's Twitter account. Mark, what is your Twitter again?
I'll just get our usual plugs in. Subscribe on YouTube, Joe Tonello. Follow me on Twitter at Mark W Slam. Same with Instagram, Mark W Slam. And for questions, if there's questions you like in the Google Hangouts, you can vote up the ones you like, or just throw your own in there, and we'll do everything we can to answer as many questions as possible towards the end of the show. And you can also send questions, just tweet them at me, Mark W Slam. That's what we did last week, actually 2 weeks ago now, and had a bunch of questions answered. So just reach out to us. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, follow on Twitter, and we'll answer every question we can for you.
Okay. So let's get right down to it. This will not be in any particular order. Bo Tucker from New Orleans put up an imager of this set, so we're just going to follow what was on the imager. And off we go.
And the imager, for anyone following along at home, too, the imager is much easier to follow than the original spoiler list. So
yes.
If you're following along, definitely follow with the imager. That's much more viewable.
All right, so starting us off, we got Wing Slash. It's +1 high block, 4 high for 3. It's all of Lilith's symbols, which is Chaos, Void, and Water. It is a weapon card. It is enhanced. Discard a card, draw a card.
Solid card. I don't really have anything bad to say. This one, it just filters. You get the cards you want. I don't know if there's some mechanics. I know Morgan's got some. I don't know if Lilith will, as far as if the top card of your discard pile is an attack, stuff happens, whatever. But this could just a solid card all around. Nice numbers, and probably we'll see some play in something.
Now, I'm going to draw some attention to the fact that it's void. A lot of people are looking at Lilith's stuff, and Lilith's stuff is amazingly a lot of it's weapon-based, so people are starting to say, look at Satoshi again. This is a good solid card for Satoshi.
Absolutely. Gets a good speed boost. It's going to be really fast with Satoshi. So it could be really good, and I'm looking at some of this stuff for the first time too, so so I'll kind of just follow along, but there could be some stuff here if you're a Satoshi fan, and I know a lot of people like ninjas and stuff, so they're trying to get Satoshi to go. You might find some love in the Lilith support for this.
All right, next up we got Where the Seas Meet. It's a +3 low block. It's got Death, Fire, and Water. It's got 3 enhances. All of them are Enhanced Destroy. You get the choice of either Enhanced Destroy, your attack gets +2 damage. Enhanced Destroy, your attack gets +2 speed. Or Enhanced Destroy, your next control check gets +2. This is a fairly solid card again. I don't know why you wouldn't be seeing this in either Fire or Evil.
I I think you're right, and I think Fire and Evil for sure are going to at least take a look at it. Primarily for the very last E for the next control check getting +2. It doesn't hurt that it's got a 6 check and a low block. In Water's got a really good foundation base right now. So I don't know if Water will be looking at this quite as much, but I know Evil and Fire especially will be looking at that as an option. I don't know if it'll make it in final cuts or not, but it's a solid card for sure.
All right. Next up, we got Walking Weapon. Earth, Fire, and Void. It has response flip after you play an attack, not as a block. That attack gets +2 speed, and the next ability your opponent plays this turn is canceled. This again is a really solid card, especially for all these symbols. And this potentially gives you a speed pump and either negates the opponent's speed reset, or if you play another ability, if they pass and you play a really big enhance that's going to kill them and they revoke it, it doesn't work. At least that's what from I'm understanding.
And the other thing that's cool about this card too, a lot of people are really hyped on Hoitzel. Hoitzel's got some abilities that revolve around just doing responses and doing things that sort of skip the enhanced steps and just play in the response zones. So that's a big part of Hoitzel's game, and I think Walking Weapon fits the theme for Hoitzel quite well.
Next up, we got Big Vic. That's what I'm calling him.
There you go.
6 hand size, 28 health, Chaos Fire Order. And it's a flat out enhance, no committal or anything. Enhance, your attack gains stun 2. Only playable if your attack's printed difficulty is greater than the printed difficulty of the preceding attack in your card pool. His second enhance is also a non-commit enhance, so it's just flat out enhance. Your attack gets +1 damage for each foundation your opponent has committed this enhance step. So already, Victor is going to be really good with a bunch of Benimaru stuff. And potentially, Victor's support, which we will look on later on down the road, has better stun. Benimaru gets better.
I think with Victor too, the first time I read him, the stuff that stood out to me was Flash Lightning. He shares 2 symbols of Flash Lightning, both Chaos and Fire. With Flash Lightning, it's a 1 diff attack, but your next mid or your mid and high attacks get -1 difficulty for each copy of the card. So essentially, it doesn't affect progressive difficulty in those. So for instance, like you could lead with a Flash Lightning and then play Chasm Buster after it, and Chasm Buster would have stun 2 from itself and then another stun 2 from Victor and 4 damage on top of it because of Victor's ability if you stun 4 with it. So there's potential there for Victor. The other card looking at order that kind of comes to mind for me is Darktide Summon, where you're going to play the Darktide Summon maybe after a couple of stronger attacks, Darktide Summon, where you're going to have some heavy stun involved and pump the damage on that attack. So I'm sure there's better stuff, and I'm just shooting from the hip, just looking at Victor here. But I'm sure there's going to be potential in playing some stuff out of order. And having taken a quick glance at this, I believe Victor's got another card in his support that'll fuel his ability too. So Victor could be pretty solid.
All right. Next up, we got Versatile Wings, +3 mid block, Death, Evil, Life. Enhance, your attack gets +1 damage or +1 speed. Only playable with the top card of your discard pile is an attack. Playable while committed. And that picture alone shows you people that this is not a kid-friendly set.
Yeah, this is a teen-rated piece of art.
Yeah.
It's TV 14. I guess this fits with Morgan's theme. The idea of you discard an attack for her ability and such. So it's good, I guess. It's good for Morgan. I don't know how much place will get outside of that because it's a very specific manner. Only play with the top card of your discard pile as an attack. So unless you bomb a check, it's not and it's not a huge bump. So unless you're for sure going to have a few of these, playable while committed is nice, but I think it's going to be more useful in Morgan than it will anyone else.
Yeah. Okay, next we got a Vector Drain 2 dot, 3 high for 5, no block. Definitely Morgan symbols again. We got Death, Evil, Life. It's a throw. It says, enhance if this attack is not blocked. Look at the top 2 cards of each player's deck and replace them in any order. It's a solid throw.
It's a throw. Evil throws is it's getting into that range where evil throws could start being a thing. I'm sure that there's some stuff right now, but this isn't a bad.
This isn't a bad card. Not by any means. Let me see, Mark. Yep, there we go.
I'm back. Anyway, the it's a it's a solid card though. I think evil throws could become a thing. It doesn't hurt that particularly a really solid throw character like Jack Lamborn also has evil. So I could see this getting play in different decks, and whether because it's going to share symbols. There's enough stuff out there where I think evil throws is possibly fairly legit now.
You know,
So
honestly,
this might get some more play than it seems.
I think this is kind of a better throw, not for Morgan. I mean, because you're rigging your top 2 cards of each player's deck. Honestly, this card kind of has more of a Nina Williams
I
vibe.
agree. It has more what? I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit.
It has more of a Nina Williams vibe to me.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I do think the looking at the top 2 and replace them in any order is pretty useful too. But I think in particular 3 high for 5 throw. I wish it had a block, but I wish everything had a block.
We can't all
I
have
think that
blocks.
I could definitely see that, and I think Jack Lamborn especially could really take advantage of something like that more. Excuse me, more so than Morgan could.
All right, so on to the next card. Tribal Protector. It's got Earth, Good, and Water. Static effect of after your opponent's ready step, ready this foundation. Already, that's a great ability. Another static ability. When committing foundations in order to make a control check to plane attack with a printed difficulty of 5 or more successful, committing this card counts as committing to foundations. Wow, that's good.
It's pretty
That's
good.
just fantastic.
I think that
Mark has no
this goes.
sound, but
I think we're on a super delay of sound. The This card in particular, it goes back to I talked a couple episodes ago about my love of cards with static, because statics just sort of win. This card is static after your opponent's ready, step ready the foundation, and turn, use it up, and it's going to be ready on their turn. I also like if you bomb your leadoff check for your big attack, committing it counts to foundation. So pass checks and then be ready when you need it on your opponent's turn to block. This is a really good card, and it might be tougher in Earth maybe, which has some better 3-diff stuff, but on Water and Good for sure you're going to be running this card.
well, you know, this means this takes all the excitement out of playing Kapow on like a 9 or a 10. No, nothing. We're just waiting for the next card? All right, next card.
I lost you there, man.
I said, well, that
Google
just
Hangouts
takes...
is being difficult today.
Yeah, I know it. All right, next up we got Transforming Outfit. +2 low block. It's a Morgan card, so that means it's got Death, Evil, and Life. It's unique. It has Enhanced, Commit, discard 1 attack, draw 2 cards. That's an ability that would be useful. It also has Morgan Response Commit before the block step of your attack. Return it to its printed speed, then it gets +2 speed. Well, the first ability is good. The second ability is just outright confusing.
I'm gonna just throw out my 2 cents because I missed a lot of what you said, so I'm just gonna kind of throw it out there from here. Google Hangouts. For anyone who used Google Hangouts, that's what we used to do these. It can be very difficult sometimes, and just we'll cut in and out, and it sounds like we're talking to ourselves at times. I don't. This is one of these cards I don't particularly think I'd run. it goes back to the discarding an attack to draw 2 cards. Unless you got a handful of attacks and you're trying to build still, I wouldn't mess with it. I would just leave it be. But in general, I would stick with. I would just hang on to the attack and not discard it to draw 2 and hope that there's more there. I'm just not a fan. I don't get it. I don't think the R on it's worth it either.
The R's just.
I'm not a fan of that one.
Well, I guess maybe if they lower.
The idea is that.
Huh? Go ahead.
The idea is that if you got speed reset, you can. If they bury the speed, if they champion a Muay Thai or something, you can return it to printed and then give it 2 more speed, which is counter to a counter, I guess. But I don't know if it's going to be worth the spot. That would just be my take. Like it's good, but it's I get that ability, but it's one of those. It's so deep. It's such a barring that my speed is buried enough that I need to return it to printed and then give it 2 speed. Like that's quite a reach. It's definitely a big reach for a card, especially for an asset. It's one thing if it's a foundation where you can still pass checks if you find you don't need it. With this, if you don't need it, it's just dead weight.
All right, on the next one. Swarm of Bats. +2 high block. This is obviously a Lilith card because we got Chaos, Void, and Water. As ally and unique, as form remove. Choose X of your opponent's foundations. Those chosen cards are considered to have a blank text box for the rest of this turn. X equals the number of attacks you've played this turn. It also has a Lilith response of Lilith Respond, remove. After your opponent plays an ability on an action card, cancel its effects.
Okay. If you could, can you bring back the screen sharing?
Screen sharing went away. Screen sharing went away.
Yep.
It's Q&A.
There we go. Okay, we're back.
Hey, we're back.
Ally unique foundations. Oof. I think that's going to be good in Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think the form is strong enough on its own to take up the space. Especially, it shares 2 symbols with Lion Stance. That's a tall order, man. That's it's going to be very hard to put that in there over Lion Stance and or Bernstein Stadium for that matter too. So I think if you're Lilith, you'd run it because the and action card negation is really good. It gives her a counter to revoke or out of your league and stuff like that. But
Yep.
I think in general, if you're not Lilith, you won't run that card.
Right. All right. Moving on. The 12th Pharaoh. It's Air All and Life. It's first form, commit your character, draw a card. We've already seen what Anacharis does, so, you know, you'll be drawing a ton of stuff with Anacharis.
I'm not a fan. The card, that's the fart noise means that I don't really like this one. 2/6 no block. There's not enough stuff. Even if you're Anacharis, there's not enough stuff really to re-ready yourself for it to be worth committing your character to draw a card. So unless you're in like the biggest pinch of all time, you really need to draw that character. I don't see it getting played, and I don't think this one in particular is very good.
All right, moving on. We got the Land of the Makai. It is Fire, Order, and Void. Form, commit 1 foundation, commit all copies of one of your opponent's foundations.
I think I like it. I wish it had better numbers, but I don't like blocks. I wish everything had better blocks and numbers, and but this one, it's especially in a longer game situation. If you're a really slow void deck or something, or
I would think this would be really good in a
maybe the guy's got
deck because you can commit this in a Vincent Gray order deck, because in Vincent Gray with order, you can commit the instability along with this card and take out an entire 4 foundations of something potentially.
Right, and I'll just go from my own experience, like in Atlanta, against like Tim Keefe and stuff. He had like three copies of Champion of Muay Thai out at one time, or three Kobukin trainings. The ability to just go form commit another foundation, and commit three Kobukin trainings is huge. So something like that could be really strong, especially in a slower game.
Hmm.
Um, I I'm talking myself into this card more, even though it's a 2/4 with no block. Anytime you just go form commit and commit other stuff, that's really big, especially in a long game. So I think I'm convinced. I like this card a lot.
I would say this is probably your two or three of in a deck that can run it.
Um, it depends on the deck.
It does
I
depend
think
on the deck.
it does depend on the deck. I think if you're a slower deck where you're going for the long game, I would run this for sure. I don't know in some like fire aggro. I don't know if you
Yeah, I was gonna
necessarily
say.
would. Because if they need to be dead by turn 3, you probably don't want a 2/4 with no block. You want to have like just fives and just check rolling fives on them. But I think if
In the
you're playing
order
like
of Void, this would have a spot somewhere.
absolutely, and it's because void and order tend to be slower decks anyway. So I like this a lot, especially for those two symbols. I don't know if there's a long game fire deck other than maybe Vespera, and I think Fire Vespera isn't as good as the other two symbols. So
Well, this
um,
we don't know if there's a slow turn Void deck anymore.
K-Dash can play the long game
He
if he
can.
needs to. Yeah, he can.
Okay.
It's tougher, but yeah, I think there's room for this in Void and Order both for sure.
All right, moving on. We got the Professor Lost. It's +3 high block. It is Chaos, Fire, and Order. We have Response Flip. After your stun attack receives a damage bonus, draw a card. We also have Enhanced Commit. Rearrange the preceding cards in your card pool, only playable during your attack. Um, I'm kind of torn on this one. I like the first ability, but the second ability is purely for uh, Vix enhances or the possibility of playing combo, rearranging your things to make combos happen.
It reminds me a little bit of there was of Temujin from Shadow War, where the whole thing was around like rearranging the order of cards in your card pool to set up big combos.
Hmm.
This is in this case though, it's not. Instead of it being for combos, this is definitely directed towards Victor.
Hmm. Yeah, Mark's gone at
Or
again. Here we
Dark
go.
Victor. I mean, it's nice after a stun attack gets a damage bonus draw, but generally, I think this card is only going to see play in Victor just because of the 2/4. Because you really that E is so specific for Victor. I just can't see other decks running a 4 check like this if you're not Victor.
All right, onward. The Thrill of Battle, another +3 high block. It's a Morgan card, so Death, Evil, and Life. Enhanced Commit, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is an attack card, draw one card. Um, Actually, this card isn't that bad. You potentially get to see what you're going to check next. You also potentially get to draw an attack. No real drawback, really.
I see a little synergy too. If we remember the throw that we looked at a little bit ago, after it deals damage, you look at the top two cards of both players' decks and rearrange them. So you could set up a draw with that. You can also use Forbidden Knowledge off of Evil, and where you both players play with the top card of their deck revealed. So you could just E-commit if you see an attack there and grab it. So there's some potential there. I think specific decks can take advantage of this. So
Hmm.
it's decent card, but in the right situations, it could be a lot better than it seems.
Yeah. All right, onward. The Vampires Tournament. Another +3 high block. It's got Death, Life, and Order. Enhanced Commit. If your attack is not blocked, turn one of your opponent's foundations face down. Uh,
Solid.
you got to make
Yeah,
sure
I mean it's not
it
bad.
blocks some way, but
Yeah, I mean it puts pressure on them to block. Yeah, I mean it's a little tough because of the numbers. The three diff and the 4 check both. Um, so it's a little tough because of the numbers, but I think room for this in conjunction like there's off Earth and Order both you have the cadence support with like Soul Purpose and stuff like that where you're turning stuff face down. So this could be a solid card. I like the high block on it, so it's not bad. Solid card.
But if you're running in the cadence stuff, you're competing with silence.
You are. Yeah. And silence is unique, and this one isn't. So I mean, you can make the argument, I guess, that
That's
way. But a lot of pressure there. So I think this is I think it's solid. I'm sure there's going to be certain decks that are going to take advantage of this.
all right. Onward. The Thundering Assault.
Yep.
It's Chaos, Fire, and Order. Respond after your opponent commits a foundation during your attack's enhanced step. Your attack gets plus X damage. X equals that foundation's difficulty. Only playable once per turn. Um, that could potentially, with enough stun, be a good game.
I think that's a terrific card, and that's this first time I've seen this one. Opponent commits. So that and the thing that makes that really nasty is it's not like R commit or anything like that. It's just R.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a nice little pump. It's free. You probably only run like 2 copies of it because it's only playable once per turn, but it's going to be a nice little extra oomph to your stun attack. So I think that's really good. I could see that being probably 2 of in your deck because you really only need one. But
I mean, now
that's strong.
realistically, we're probably, and most likely realistically, only going to be getting maybe a +1 or +2, but still.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt though. It's free damage. I'd have to see the rest of what a post DarkStalkers deck would look like with those symbols, but I could see that being a copy or two just to get a little extra hit on those attacks.
Oh, yeah. Onward, we got To Return Home, and this is where we start getting the really creepy pictures with Lilith. Yeah. All right, anyways, +2 high block. It's a unique. It's got little symbols of chaos, void, and water. It is response commit after you make a control check. Name a card. That check gets +1 for each copy of the named card in your staging area.
I've seen some of Lilith's stuff. I know she's got some themes with having multiple copies of the same foundation. So this I don't know how this is one of these cards that it could be a lot better than it seems. Um, if the fact that it's unique might limit it a little bit, but I think that could have the potential to be a really big check positive for you down in a longer game, especially. That may actually be more useful in characters that aren't Lilith, because as a 7, I believe she's a 7/19. I don't think Lilith's going to stay around very long to be able to take full advantage of that card. But I think in longer games, some characters could really take advantage of that. So that actually could be a really solid card in slow decks.
Yes. All right. Next we got Suspended Sword. Death, Good, and Order. It has the keywords of ranged and weapon. This card does not count towards progressive difficulty to play a rain. This card does not count towards the progressive difficulty to play ranged or weapon attacks. It also has form. Add this card to your card pool. Your next ranged or weapon attacks gain powerful 2. Well, considering we just got the Mega Man set, this is already a fantastic card for those Mega Man sets.
It is. Immediately when I read this, I just thought of Trinity Geyser, and that's because the whole thing with Trinity Geyser is you lead with an attack, and then you play 2 foundations, and then Trinity Geyser. This wouldn't count towards progressive to play Trinity Geyser. If you're playing off of good, you could run this and one-man Wolfpack and rush out a Trinity Geyser real fast, and the Trinity Geyser would only be at like a 7, not counting anything you may have done previously. Like if you run some of the Mega Man support that makes range attacks cheaper, you can play it on even less. So this is going to it fits Donovan's theme, which I believe is all based around ranged and/or weapon attacks. So this fits Donovan. I could see this maybe sneaking into Trinity Geyser decks too off of good. I don't know what else it would go into, but it's not bad. It's not bad for what it is. It fits the theme.
Sorry about that. Taking care of something. All right, next we got Succubus. Morgan symbols, so death, evil, and life. This attack, enhanced commit, this attack gets +2 or -2 speed. This is a fairly solid card. It's just flat out +2 or -2 speed. It doesn't say for your attack or your opponent's attack, so it's nice.
It's nothing fancy. It's very basic. Um, I don't. I'd have to look at some of the lineups. Once again, this is going to be kind of evaluating just on the fly. I don't know how much love that's going to get in some decks. Evil, you already have Girl Like Any Other. Death, you have Peaceful Messenger, which gives a speed pump if need be and is an amazing block. Life, I don't know. This might be more useful in Life, which I don't believe, just off the top of my head, I don't think Life has any terrific speed resets or anything like that. So something like this might be more useful in a Life deck. The other two may still see some play, but I'm not I'd have to really lay out a deck to know for sure.
Alrighty. Onward, we have Successor of Ansland. +3 mid block. It's Morgan symbol, so it's Death, Evil, Life. Little baby Morgan. Enhance, commit, discard 1 momentum. If your attack is not blocked, your opponent loses 2 and you gain 2 vitality. Again, more block pressure, but you got to do a lot to make them need to block. So, really not feeling it.
If your attack is not blocked, your opponent loses 2 vitality and gain 2 vitality. You got to have a lot of momentum, I think, to really take advantage of something like this. I really hope they don't block it. I don't.
Again,
I don't love
asking you to do more than what is than what the card is giving you.
I think the one way this could work would be in Evil Throws, and that's going back to where I do think Evil Throws is going to be a thing. It's stuff like the big one that people have a hard time with is Choke Throw, because Choke Throw it burns you have a chance to burn 2 life and discard 1 of their momentum, but the throw itself is only for 3 damage. So I could see something like this where you do that and put pressure on them to block the 3 damage throw. Otherwise, they burn life. So it could be a thing, and I think with Evil Throws, you're going to have more momentum than you would off the other 2 symbols. So I think this could be an Evil Throws card, but I don't think it would be much else.
Well, we also got Life Throws.
Yeah, because you still have Gabrick's support, right? Is still Life. So yeah, I mean, there's something there. I don't think it's amazing, but I think there's specific situations where this card could pay off.
Alrighty. Onward. And we have just crossed into an R rating.
This is like a TV 35 video show. This is
Technically, I'm not old enough to be on this show right now.
I'm not.
All right, let's just
I'm getting there though. I'm approaching there.
Yeah. Splendor Love. God, that doesn't even sound any better.
Oh Jesus. I'm really uncomfortable at this part of the show right now. This is.
We need an adult. We need an adult.
No, we don't. We
need adults that aren't in our play group. We'll just put it that way.
We need the party van right now.
5 high for 3. It's Lilith symbol, so Chaos, Void, Water, powerful 2. You may discard attacks in your card pool that have dealt 3 or less damage in addition to momentum to pay the cost of the powerful ability. You can also enhance, commit 2 foundations. This attack gets +1 to its powerful rating.
If
let me just put it this way. If you play this card, I am not judging you.
It's actually a pretty good card, especially for Lilith. It fits Lilith's theme tremendously, and we'll see more of her stuff as we're going along. But it's like committing 2 foundations, giving it +1 to the powerful. The idea is that you're going to play this after you've played a string of 3 diff attacks and stuff. So, I'm sorry, 3 damage attacks. So it makes sense for what she does.
Again, in an extended deck, I would love to see this in an Ivy deck, Void Ivy deck.
I agree, and I think that's where, and that's the other thing too with the advent of not the advent, but the return of extended. I think Lilith plus Ivy could actually be some interesting stuff. I think people like Ivy's abilities kind of got lost in the shuffle because of the slice kick stuff, but I think there could be something there for a Void Ivy with like Lilith stuff. I think Ivy's better than Lilith, but it's stuff like this is just good support there. But just looking at Lilith just in a vacuum, I think that's a terrific card for her and what she does.
All right, a van's parked out of my driveway. I'm gonna turn the card next.
All right, we got this.
Okay, Soul Flash.
That's a little better. Okay.
Yeah, thank God.
All right, no
Plus your
nudity.
mid block, plus 3 speed or 3 mid speed. Put 2 damage. Lilith symbols. I'm going to stop saying the symbols now unless they change. It's the ranged attack. It has enhanced scar momentum. This attack deals damage. Your opponent loses 1 vitality for each attack with a printed damage of 3 or less in your card pool. Again, this is really good in Morgan
This is some good Lilith stuff.
and Lilith stuff. I mean, I'm just looking at. My mind keeps drifting back to older decks. I can't.
Yeah, because I don't know the old Morgan stuff. I'll just go off what I know here. Just this fits Lilith for sure. This is some solid stuff. Discard momentum. Yeah, momentum's a little tougher to get, but it's not a bad card. Good block on it. 3 mid 2, and it fits her theme. So it's more fuel to the fire just to set up something like Splendor Love or whatever that weird card was. So it's not horrible. It fits Lilith. I don't know how much it'll see play in other people, but for Lilith, I can see it getting some run.
Yeah. All right, onwards. Soulfist. Actually, Soulfist 2. Plus 2 high block, 3 mid for 4. Morgan symbols. It's ranged. Enhance commit 1 foundation if this attack is not blocked. Add it to your momentum and discard 1 of your opponent's momentum.
It's
Solid.
pretty good. I nothing. It's solid. It's 2 high block, which is good block. It's the ability on it will make it more likely that your opponent's going to at least try and block it. And this is an attack where, excuse me, if it didn't have an ability like that, your opponent would just probably eat the 4. But with that ability, it's going to at least put the pressure on to, the big kicker here. It's not so much discarding 1 of their momentum. It's the fact that if it deals, it essentially just goes to your momentum right away. So it doesn't stay in your card pool and you can keep swinging. So that's where I think that card is going to be more useful, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on. It's sort of like a little more balanced version of Piercing Howl in that respect, where the idea is that you want to block the Piercing Howl to keep it from leaving the card pool. You want to keep their card pool full. So this is going to be kind of a similar idea.
Yeah. Onward. Shining Blade 2. 3 low for 3. Lilith symbols. Stun 2 weapon. Enhanced name of foundation. This attack gets plus 1 damage for each copy of the named foundation you're staging area. This is actually a really good card.
I think
something that a lot of the decks in their early game really needed. More specifically, when this was debuted, everybody immediately agreed this goes in a Satoshi deck. This really goes good in a Lilith deck.
this is Lilith's best card, I think, out of the ones out of the stuff we've gone over at least. There might be something that'll catch my eye, but this is the one to me that is Lilith's best card. It's essentially, it reminds me a lot of the Shadow War card Execution Technique, First Right, which is, if I'm not mistaken, also a 3 low for 3. I know it had stun 2. The other thing, too, though, that's nice is that with the Enhance, it gets plus 1 damage for each copy of the named foundation. So at the very minimum, it's going to be for 4. In longer games, it can be as much as 7. So it's realistically, it's probably going to be 4 or 5. So it's still 3 low for. It will be conservative and say 3 low for 5 with a stun 2 on it for 4, which is really good. So I have very few complaints about it. I wish it had a block. Like I said, I wish everything had a block, but this is a really strong card, man. This one, I think, this card is going to.
This is going to be money. This is going to be a chase card.
I don't know if it's going to be a chase, but it's going to be a card that goes beyond just Lilith decks.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Shell Kick. 4 high 4 Morgan symbols. It's a kick. Enhance discard 1 momentum. Your opponent destroys 1 of their foundations, and add the top card of your deck to your staging area face down.
That's solid, man. If as long as you got the momentum, your opponent destroys a foundation. You gain a foundation. That's really good. So I like that one a lot. I 4 high 4. It's good numbers. It's a kick. I don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about it. It's a pretty good card.
Nope. All right, moving along. Ooh, that artwork. Okay, pull to the Majigen. Or Majigen. God, that artwork just stares at you.
It's pretty good though.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm blocking the card art with the hand. I can't look at Jetta directly in the eyes. They follow me.
He's giving me the L7 weenie sign. He says I'm a loser.
God. Uh, it's air, death, and good. Enhanced look at the top card of your deck, only playable once per turn. That can be worked around with some of Morgan's stuff because it does have death. It also has Desperation Response, remove. After your opponent plays an attack, not as a block, add it to their hand.
That's the big one. The desperation R in that is really strong. As long as you don't get it, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to not leave you in desperation. It's there's it's going to put your opponent in a position where they're really, especially if they're trying to extend the game, if they're playing a long string and trying to zing you or something and need to pass on a 5 and they pass that 5, you can go, all right, remove, and now they got to take a chance at possibly failing the second time. So this card is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not unique, so you can play a bunch of them, and if you're just hanging in there for the long haul and your opponent's just playing attacks and going for that long kill turn, you can force them to try and bomb checks. So I think that's a pretty good card. I don't know. I have no idea how many I'd run in a deck, but that's a solid card.
Oh, and guys, don't forget we actually do have our Q&A up, so go ahead and ask questions, and we'll get to those later in the show. Onward to the next card. We got QB. 7 hand size, 20 health. She is air, all, and evil. She has enhance your attack. It's plus X damage. X equals your opponent's momentum to a maximum of 3. It also has enhance. Add 1 card from your opponent's discard pile to their momentum. Playable only once per turn. Actually, I kind of like her.
I think she's absolutely horrible. She's gender male.
This queen bee is gender male. All the queen bees in the hive are all the same thing.
That is strange. She gives her opponent momentum.
She gives the opponent momentum, but at the same time, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the second ability more than the first, because this stops somebody from doing when the moon comes over the mountain, because you can enhance and target the card they're targeting.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me is that if there's, I guess it could make sense against certain opponents, and depending on what they're doing. Only playable once per turn it does it puts a damper on it, but she, that's
We'll
rough.
just go with
If
it.
he, she, whatever, if they have any way to get the cards out of momentum, she's almost useless. Or if
That
they have a
is
way to take
probably
advantage of it. There are certain decks out there where they're stuff in their momentum is just like locked there, so that could be a thing. But
Well, we really
I,
don't have a lot of momentum retrieval post rotation.
no,
We have stuff that we can pay the cost for out of momentum, but we don't have a lot of utility to take stuff out of momentum and put it back in our hand anymore.
right, you have to be like Tim Keefe. But I don't love it. I don't love the character and such.
And we will go to our card guru, Tim Keith, and see if that gender thing is either, like I said, and all queen bees are either male or female, or if that's just some bizarre typo and she's actually female.
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume it's a typo, and I'm gonna chuckle at it the whole time and just go, "Well, Japan," and just shake my head. But it's
Now,
we got a differing opinion on it, and that's why we do these shows because it's
yeah.
reviews. We have different preferences. Joe likes QB. It's just not my thing.
I can see some things, but at the same time, I understand why you think she's horrible too. So, next card, S class. 3 high, Morgan symbols, non-committing enhance, so just flat out enhance if your attack is not blocked. Ready for this foundation. Enhance commit, discardable momentum. Your attacks may not be blocked by attack cards. The bottom one is more important than the top one. Did we lose Mark again?
I think they're both interesting. I we're cutting in and out. It's Google Hangouts, guys, so just bear with us if our voices get choppy here and there. Just that's what we do. Um, but if I could see this one, uh, I think that first E might actually be good too. Um, I I don't know. I like the card, but I couldn't tell you exactly where I'd use it yet. And it's not. It's got to be something. I just don't. I don't have it right now. But I think
A
that
lot
first
of
E is
attack
good.
cards right now have breaker on them, or some of them have breaker on them. So this protects you potentially from those breaker attacks.
The big one that's floating around out there is Team K Dash. I think everyone and their mom is starting to throw that deck 3-4 deep in every deck, or that card 3-4 deep in every deck. Plus one mid block with a breaker two, and it's an asset. So this could be
But
something
it's
for
by
that.
attack
But
cards.
I'm sorry.
It's by attack cards. They can't.
Hmm.
Be blocked by
Right. So
both.
this would keep them from Team K dashing you.
Okay, I thought you were meaning playing the Team K Dash as the card.
No, 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 no. It can't be blocked by. Oh, it may not be blocked by attack cards. I'm getting this backwards. So they could block it with Team K dash. Yeah, they just couldn't block with attacks. So, but it's a spare attack, I guess. Like if I'm trying to pick up
Uh,
P touch to block you or something.
there's that one Robert card that's floating around. It says if you
Um,
block the next card you get gets breaker two, breaker one.
yeah, there's Hien Shapukok. That's a pretty good one too. I actually like that card a lot. I almost ran it in ATL but didn't. But it's a solid card. This is a similar idea though. Ice Slasher's got the thing on it too, where it can't be blocked by attack cards, so Sting Kick can't murder it. So
Mm-hmm.
that helps too.
All right, next up,
Hmm.
Sasquatch. 6 hand size, 28 health. It's evil, good, and or not evil, earth, good, and water. Excuse me. Hey, I'm as tall as Sasquatch. I'm 5'5".
There you go.
All
Are
right.
you
Anyways,
are you 397, Joe?
now I am now 195.
There you
I've
go.
gone down 10 pounds.
Getting lean and mean for Gen
Well,
Con.
actually, I'm getting back to what I used to be. I used to be 170, then Japan, then the holidays. Then I just got fat for Christmas.
I know
Okay,
how that goes.
anyway, back to Sasquatch, even though he
Yep.
is Christmas themed as he is a Yeti. Enhance your attack with a printed difficulty of 5 or more, gets +1 damage and +2 speed. It's also as response commit, destroy one committed foundation. After your opponent's ready step, commit 2 of their foundations. Actually, I kind of like him.
I think he's okay too. I don't know. I'm sure there's a line between good and great, and I think he's sort of on that, sort of treads that line. So I think
Him
he's
with
good. I
Zing.
don't think he's great. I'm interested. That R is intriguing. That's if you have to have a nice build, but if you have a nice build, you could really, and it's targeted committal, so you could really put your opponent in a tough spot. I think he's pretty solid. I'd like to, excuse me, I'd like to test him a little more and see the kind of what how far you can go with that R. But I think he's really good, and I think a lot of it comes down to that R. The E is nice, but I think that R and being able to commit to your opponent's foundations is really solid.
Mm-hmm. All right, up next, we have Sealed Space, +2 mid block. It's got Lilith symbols. It has Enhance, Remove, discard one card, add one card with a difficulty and control equal to the difficulty and control of the card you discarded from your discard pile to your hand.
This
Uh,
is essentially going to let you swap out, like, if there's a particular foundation or attack you need, you can swap sort of like an attack for an attack, um, because that's generally what it's going to be. Um, it's going to be stuff like that where maybe you need a very particular attack, so you pitch the one attack that shares numbers with it to grab the one you actually need. So it's a very specific card, but it's not a bad card by any means. It's just it's a very particular card for a very particular need. So I don't think I don't think it's bad by any means. It's tricky. It's a good card, but it's definitely it's a techie card.
yeah, it's not bad.
No, I don't think so at all.
Next up, we got Secret Foyers, +2 mid block. It's got them Morgan symbols. Response, after you add this card to your staging area during your end phase, if you have played exactly one card this turn, or exactly one attack this turn, excuse me, your opponent discards one random card. Um, you know, I really don't know what to think about this one in all honesty because it's during the end phase, so they're just going to draw into that extra card anyways. So, I mean, unless you're like, and you can't really pressure them because you can only play one attack with this card to make this card work.
It's very particular.
And like I said, since it's during your end phase, your opponent's just going to draw to their hand size anyways.
They're going to draw to the hand size. I guess it's tech. I guess if they're trying to hold out for a specific attack turn, maybe it's better. I don't like this one in particular. I think
I
it
don't
might be a
either.
little too particular. Like I don't think it's horrible, but I think it's a little too particular to find room in most decks.
If it didn't have that during your end phase, or during the combat phase or something, I
Yeah,
would be more on
if
board with it. But during the end phase, it seems moot.
it kind of does. Yeah, if it was something where like okay, if you played one attack this turn, your opponent discards a card or something like that, where you could continue trying to take advantage of the discard, it'd be one thing, but you really can't do anything with the discard. So in that case, I don't like this one particularly either.
And I mean, on top of that, it's after you add it for the thing. So after it gets added, and if you miss the effect, it becomes a blank card.
Yes,
So, I really don't like that one. Maybe there's something we're not seeing. If you
possibly.
guys see it and we don't, put it in the comments section and we'll get to it.
That's why we do comments.
Or put it in the questions section now that we have a questions section during the show. All right, self-awareness. Again, the eyes, they follow me. We got them Lilith symbols. We have Enhanced Destroy. If you've played 5 or more attacks this turn, your next control check this turn is successful. This is a good card.
It's very particular. It's going to be one of those either end game decks or it's going to be one of those like super duper aggro. Um,
We need
this card, this card in Chaos Iori, I think is going to be stupid. Because the Chaos Iori plays a lot of attacks and just kind of overwhelms you with it's string of flash lightnings and piercing howls and tribs and Yatagarasu. I think this card's going to be good in Iori in particular. Especially if they get to the point where like they're just reaching to kill you and they're worried about passing a check. They just play it. I think this card it's going to get play. It's going to be limited to a handful of decks, but the decks that run it, it's going to be phenomenal. And I think Iori in particular is the one that just jumps off jumps out of UFS Ultra and goes, hey Mark, play me in this deck. I think that's the one is going to be Iori off Chaos.
And again, my glove goes to Void Ninja there, because I can see him with the weenie weapons and just go nuts and then play this.
You do avoid superior technique kind of loop stuff. Yeah, I could see it in there too.
All right, next up we got Soulblade 2, 4 low 5, them Morgan symbols. It's a weapon card. It has Enhanced Commit 1 Foundation. Your opponent loses 2 Vitality and you gain 2 Vitality. Only playable if the top card of your deck, only playable if the top card of your discard pile is an attack.
It's we talked about this one a couple weeks ago. It's limited because of the restriction on the top card of your deck or your discard pile having to be in an attack. But I don't think it's horrible. I kind of this is one where if they're gonna have such a specific ability, I kind of wish this one had a block. I think Evil Lows this is a nice little Evil Low card though.
Yeah, I was going to
Evil
say
Lows,
this is a good addition to the arsenal of Evil Low.
yeah, people really want to see Evil Lows make a comeback, and this is a start. I think the enhance might be a little too restrictive for it to get really widespread play, but I could see certain decks taking advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up we got Power Split. 3 mid block. Morgan symbols. Enhance, discard 1 momentum. Ready this foundation. Your opponent commits 1 of their foundations, only playable while committed.
It's all right. 1/4, so it's technically spam. The I think the E on it could actually be pretty solid, and it depends on how much momentum you're allowed to gain during enhanced steps, or excuse me, during your turn and such. I once again, like if I was Evil Throws, this card being it like this card's in it to win it, dude. That's a good card, but um,
Ah,
I because evil throws are gonna have a lot more momentum. I think it's solid, and I think there's going to be you have to have the momentum to back up this card, but I think in certain situations it's going to be a really solid card, right along the lines of like Hidden Laughter and Pride and Glory, those kind of re-readying foundations. I think this could be potentially better than all of them in the right deck.
oh, and Tim Keith is in our audience, and he did let us know that yes, Queen Bee's gender is a typo. It's supposed to be female.
Yeah. So Japan's not crazy. All right, great.
Although technically I am correct too, because the Queen Bee QB hive is made up of nothing but QBs. So they could potentially also be male or female.
That's some weird stuff, man. That's
That
some
is just how Capcom does it.
go
What can
Capcom.
Okay, the power struggles. I really should name the show Power Struggles. Okay, +2 mid block. I'm gonna guess these are Pyron symbols of all death and evil. Um, after you block a throw attack with this card, it deals no damage, and this card gains Breaker 1. Already, that's a winner.
Yep.
And then it has Form Destroy, choose one or both players. The chosen players discard a card and draw a card. I'm going to be playing it for the first ability more than the second.
Yeah, I think the static is where it's at on that card more so than anything. After you block the throw, deals no damage because Breaker 1. There's in a world of very little throw tech, this is throw tech. So I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, but we're also in a world of very little throw now that post rotation has happened.
Yeah, I mean the throws are there, but there's less of them to choose from. Gosh, that one and Peaceful Messenger both have death, so death is going to be really like an anti-throw symbol to a point. So I think that's a solid card, and I think throws, and this is going to bum a couple people out. I think throws are almost too good. There weren't enough answers other than basically like Kopugan Training and Peaceful Messenger. So I think this card's fine. And I think it's necessary.
Right, next card. Pharaoh's Salvation, +2 low block, 4 mid for 6. Anakara symbols of air, all, and life. Breaker 2. Enhance commit your character. This attack gains multiple 1. Enhance commit your character. This attack and its multiple copies get +2 damage. Enhance discard 1 momentum. Ready your character. This is a good finisher. It's certainly a good card to block with because it's got that low block and that Breaker 2. Since it has air, not only is it good in Anakaris, it's good in a multiple scenario of different characters, because we do have Hand of a Tyrant, which does let us ready our character card. I could also see this being played in Gen Con Kyo on top of Anakaris, because once you commit, you got the multiple, and then you got Kyo's speed and damage pump. So this is good across the board, in my opinion. I think this might be a bit more situational than some others.
I agree, and I think this card, it's situational. I think the situation is going to be that you're going to play this in characters that aren't Anakaris. I think you're onto something too with like Gen Con Kyo. Uses form to pass the check, and it's a 6 diff attack, so it never hurts to be able to get help passing that. But once it's passed, you can also use kick a momentum to re-ready your character. And air especially, because air you have access to Zealot Rush, Hand of a Tyrant, stuff like that too. So you'll have some support to keep your character re-readying, and this is just more fuel for that. So if I'd have to really sit down and break down the list of characters, but I think this could have some. I think this is going to have bigger uses outside of Anakaris. I think other characters are going to be able to take advantage of this card.
Like I said, even if we're not looking at the fact that it's a +2 low block with a Breaker 2 is fantastic.
Huge. Even if you only half block on a mid, though, it's a Breaker 2. So I like it. I think it's a good card. I think I don't think it's amazing, but I think in very specific situations that card's going to get some play.
All right, onwards. O.M. Okay. I forgot how weird Queen Bee's attacks are called. 2 low 5. Air, all, and evil. It's a reversal attack. So it's a reversal attack. I forgot. Does Spider Girl got evil?
No.
Oh,
Nope.
thank God.
No,
Okay.
that's.
Anyways,
Yeah.
enhance. If this attack is added to your momentum this turn, add it face up. Only playable if your opponent has at least one momentum. Response: discard this card from your momentum. Before your opponent's end phase, they lose 2 vitality.
Um, I'm not a fan.
Uh,
It's the numbers aren't terrific. I don't think the abilities are particularly good. I that's a tall order, man. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd run it, and it doesn't have a block. If it doesn't have a block, it better be really amazing, or at least have something else really positive to make up for it not having a block. I just don't see it here on this one.
all right. Onward. New experiences. +3 mid block. Lilith symbols. Enhanced commit if your attack deal or response commit, excuse me, response commit. After your attack deals 3 or less damage, draw 1 card. You know, again, this is really good for Lilith. This potentially is good for Satoshi. I don't know. Does Iori plink people?
Does he what? I'm sorry.
Does he like plink them with like little attacks too?
Very rarely. Most of the stuff is pretty heavy.
Okay.
This card in particular, just looking at it, I think this is going to see play in pretty much Lilith and no one else. It's a little too restrictive. It's because Lilith is one of the few characters out there that says let's hit lots of little attacks. Most of the characters right now are trying to hit you with hit you with the thunder and bring the pain. And you can't bring pain doing 3 damage at a time. You have to hit for more than 3. So I really think I think that card is unfortunately going to be restricted just kind of to Lilith, and that'll be about it.
And again, looking to extend it potentially Ivy, but
Yeah, if you go to extended IV, but we'll just look at standard, I guess, for the sake of
yeah.
staying out of that giant hellhole that is the future of extended.
Again, I think Satoshi could run this card as well because a lot of Satoshi attacks are little attacks too. I know Blitz Shuriken, I believe Poison Dart, and I believe Oni High Slash are all low damage attacks.
Yeah,
So,
I just to throw something really quick together to make for Satoshi. You may run it if you run enough of the stuff. I would run Poison Dart, Sagaki Offering.
that new Lilith Shining Blade 2.
Yeah, Shining Blade would probably be in there. So there might be enough stuff where you might still run it in like a Satoshi or something like that with Void Weapons. I'd have to look at the numbers, but that's a possibility. So it could see play in Satoshi as well.
And really, that's it. I mean, we're trying
That's
to look
about
at all the angles here, people.
Yeah, we're trying to be. I'm trying to be positive as much as I can. So.
All right, Morgan. We're just going to skip over Morgan, guys. We've taught her to death.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we'll give the picture a couple more seconds. You guys can read it. We've said our piece on her multiple times. All right, moving on. Moontracer. +2 low block. 2 mid 4. It's got them Morgan symbols. It's a throw, and it says if this attack is not blocked, your next attack gets +2 speed. Again, evil throws seems to be a thing with Morgan.
Yep. I think it's another solid throw. I like the low block on it a lot. The speed thing is the speed thing because I think generally if you're running this, you're going to be running stuff also that you're just going to run throws and you're not going to worry too much about the speed. So I think the big thing here, it's an evil throw. The more I'm looking at this, though, more than Morgan, I just keep thinking of evil Jack Lamborn. So it's with Jack, it's going to be a 2 mid for 8 probably. So that's going to be I think that's going to be a nice little card for sure.
All right, next we got Mary. +3 high block, Lilith symbols. All right, this one's a mouthful, guys, so bear with me. Enhance. Your attack gets +1 damage and -1 speed. If you have played at least 2 copies of your attack this turn, it gets an additional +1 damage. Only playable if your attack has greater speed than damage.
That's a happy card. It's
That is
built
a happy
it's built
card.
primarily. It fits the theme for more not from where for
Lilith.
Lilith. Has a way to like recycle attacks so that she can play the same attack multiple times in a turn. So it makes sense. It fits what she does. I don't. I mean, it's spam. You can't expect anything great from spam.
There's
I
better
wish that it
spam
didn't.
than this, though.
There is. There is. I wish that it didn't have that little caveat of only playable if your attack is
It has greater
greater
damage.
play it. If it play with your attack has a greater speed than damage, I don't know if I'd play it. And with that, it's going to be very hard for that to fit into decks unless you're Lilith, basically.
All right, let's move on. Lesser half.
Yep.
+3 low block. Lilith symbols. Enhance destroy. Your attack gets +1 damage for each other copy of this card in your staging area, playable while committed. This is actually a good card.
Um, it's good. You got to have a lot of it to really take advantage because it's for every other copy. So, excuse me. So you need at
3 of
least two and you need at least two in play to get one damage. So I don't know.
Well, this is
I
probably
think it's
spam
spam.
symbols needed.
This is going to be long game spam stuff that could be good in a longer deck. It's 0/5 of the low block never hurts, and it's void, which especially is really hurting for good low blocks. So it might see play just simply because it's a void low block. So I don't love it because I think you need to even if it was like your attack gets one damage for each copy of this card, I don't think it would be particularly amazing. But I think for each other copy of this card, it means you have to have two copies of it just to get one damage. I don't really care for that, but I think it may find play just simply because it's a 0/5 of the low block with void on it. So that would be my take on it.
All right. Next up, we actually have the girl herself. 7 hand size, 19 health. She got them Lilith symbols because she is Lilith. Enhance, add one face-up attack, add one face-up attack that dealt 3 or less damage from your card pool to your hand, only playable once per turn. Enhance, name a card. Your attack gets plus X speed. X equals the number of copies of the named card in your staging area +1. I like her.
God, I wish she had a good defensive anything. I think she's gonna unfortunately, and this like I like the idea of the 3 damage attacks and stuff like that, and throwing multiple attacks. And the problem is her ability, especially that the E name a card. I think that is more relegated. It would be stronger in decks that are going to play like 5 or 6 turns. She's not going to see turn 5, and she doesn't have the symbols to survive like that. She has to play really aggressively, and I don't know if she can do enough with 3 damage attacks in 2 to 3 turns to kill anybody. So I'm dubious. I think some of her support is pretty interesting. I wish she was. I wish she was I don't know, a 6-hand with a draw or something like that, or just even if she was a 6-hand and just had the same abilities, maybe where she could possibly see a turn 4 or 5 and maybe go for something where that speed pump really gets out of hand. And I don't. I think she's too fragile to really go a long way.
Potentially, yeah. She had like the Proto-Man ability on her. Defensively, I think
Yeah, absolutely. If she was like a 720 and had like, you need one of the symbols. You need like air or all or something like that, because air's got good tools, all's got good tools to stay alive even as a 7-hander, directing an Empire, Templar, stuff like that. But she just doesn't have access to that. So with those symbols, you're pretty much relegated to being like super duper aggro, and her abilities won't kill anybody fast enough for her aggro stuff to kind of pay off before she's dead.
Does this format's water not allow you to tank as much as it used to?
Water isn't. Water reversals can hold the fort down. There's some tools. If you're gonna be a 719, you better be able to kill really really well or have really some sort of really good defensive ability, and she just has neither. I think unfortunately she's relegated to the fun tier.
All right. Next up, we got limited time. +3 mid block. Lowest symbols. Response, commit 1 foundation. After your attack has dealt 3 or less damage, your opponent loses 1 vitality. Okay?
That Lilith tech, man. It makes sense for Lilith, and I don't know if you're doing much else, man. Maybe
It's like
throws.
mosquito bites constantly, really.
I'm sorry.
It's like mosquito biting.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean that's the idea is hit you for 3 and then you burn another 1 and if you're void you can throw in is it poison? Yeah, you could throw like poison dart or something like that in there. Poison dart would be a really good Lilith card actually too if you're building her. So that makes sense. So yeah, I could see it in Lilith for sure.
All right. Luminous Illusion 2. +2 high block. It's 4 mid for 7. It's a Lilith. It's a weapon. Enhance, reveal your momentum. Add 1 attack with a printed damage of 3 or less from your momentum to your hand. Your control checks to play copies of that attack get +2 for the rest of the turn.
It's okay. It's some muscle. I mean, 4 mid for 7, 2 high blocks, so it's got solid numbers. I wish it didn't have a 2 because even with the 3, I don't think it's that crazy. It's
Well, there was that one card we talked a little bit a while ago where if you play 5 tiny attacks, this attack gets to be played for free.
There you go. And that's I just think like this is going to be very reliant. You're going to have to hit some pokes and don't get killed on the backswing, and then play this after and try and take advantage of that. Hit the same attack a couple of times maybe. So I think this one's a little more limited. I think you're better off just going hardcore, just really cheap attacks, and just try and burn them using the card we just looked at and poison darts and stuff like that off void. That would be my approach.
And if you
I
need
think this
something,
one,
Sagaki Offering would be better, more preferable.
if it would be, yeah. And I know like Sagaki it may be tough to get because Tides is so limited, but if just realistically, if you're trying to take Lilith another step further, I would go like cheap stuff in Sagaki. You got to have 1 card with punch, and I think that would be the one I'd go with punch.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Or
next up. Huh?
I was just gonna say the other one you could run is just her weird naked card, but yeah, I would probably go the weird naked card or Sagaki.
Luring the enemy. +3, +3 mid block. Lilith symbols. It's a static ability. When you attempt to block, with this card, return the opponent's attack to its printed speed. This isn't bad.
It's not bad. I think it's a toolbox card. It's 2 of probably in most decks. Maybe more in the side. This is one of these where it's going to probably be like 2 main, 2 side kind of thing, or 2 in 1. You're not going to need it in every matchup, but there's going to be those high speed decks, or if they're playing multiples or something, you can block the multiple and it brings it to 0 because multiple's printed speed is 0. So there's situations where you could really take advantage of this card. So I think it's good. I think it's a good tool, and I'd imagine that it's going to see some play on multiple levels, whether it's just pickup games for fun or like the actual tournament play. I think you're going to see this card.
All right, next up we got Matariku. It's +4 high block. Chaos, Earth, and Evil. It's terrain. We haven't seen that in a while.
It's been a minute.
Respond, destroy 1 ready foundation. After you play an attack, not as a block, destroy 1 of your opponent's foundations. Playable while committed, playable by either player. Or enhance commit, your attack gets +4 damage. Like, already needed an additional damage pump.
This is, gosh.
4s everywhere? A lot of 4s?
Targeted destruction. I think the fact that it's playable by either player makes it really risky. It'd be tough. You'd have to really twist my arm to play this. This is a man's card here. This is one of these where, all right, I'm gonna blow up your stuff and come at me, bro. Like you want to blow me up back, but it's tough. Destroying a ready foundation is a really big cost. So I think you're better off leaving this out and just running a bunch of cat forces. This card shares two symbols with cat force. Cataclysmic force their foundations away, and I would just avoid this one and take the risk of them destroying something you like out of their hands.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
on the more logical side. Cat Force is the champ card, and Drew's a wonderful guy, but those things are hard to come by. So this could
Yes.
be the more accessible answer.
It could be. At a certain point, too, though, you may also just go, well, maybe it's not worth my opponent being able to destroy my foundations back. That would be the trade-off as well. You know, I can either play Cat Force and choose what I'm going to destroy, or just choose for them to not have the opportunity to destroy my foundations back. And that's probably how I look at it. Is I would just don't. I'm just not going to let them choose what to destroy. That's why I like that big ultra rare robber kick. I don't like it because your opponent chooses what they're going to destroy. You choose two, and your opponent chooses two of yours. So you don't want to let your opponent choose what cards you're going to have in your staging area. That's just kind of my. I don't know. That's why I'm reluctant to play some of those, and that's why I would avoid this one, I think.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Mega Crush. +2 mid block. 4 high 3. It's got them Victor symbols. Punch. Enhance commit one foundation. This attack gets +3 damage. Only playable if your opponent has committed a foundation this enhanced step. It also has Respond. After you play this card until the beginning of your next turn, throw attacks that are completely blocked deal no damage. When this card is removed from the card pool, remove it from the game.
This is good for Lilith.
This is Lilith. Oh yeah, Lilith's got chaos.
Lilith's got chaos. So I actually like this in Lilith. I don't particularly love it in Victor as much. This is a really good Benimaru card, I think.
Well,
Actually,
yeah, this is a good Benimaru card. This changed really well with Orders from Hydron because this is essentially saying it's a +5 damage pump.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure you've gotten a something committed with Order.
Or Fire.
So I think it's good. I think there's gonna be uses. This might be like one of them cards that's sneaky better in people that aren't Victor. And I like Victor. Victor's one of my favorite Darkstalkers characters because I'm a big Boris Karloff, old Frankenstein movie fan. So I'm always down with Victor.
Really, I'm a Wolfman guy.
I think this card is going to be better in people that aren't Victor actually.
Well, I think it needs to be Victor though, because who do we have that gives free stun to things?
Benimaru, Lilith. I think you're going to be you'll forget the E and then just go with Lilith stuff.
What about Bomb Man?
Yeah, Bomb Man could do some stuff with it too. He's got two symbols of Victor. I could see this getting some play though. I mean, especially if Flash Lightning and stuff like that too into this, where it's going to give it a bunch of damage. So I do think there is potential for this card. I just don't know if it's like ultimately going to be with Victor, if it's going to be in other people. I think that's an amazing Benimaru card.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Benimaru, it's going to get the stun, and you also have access to Order some Hydron off of fire, so you can still do the commit with that too.
4 high 8 all day long.
4 high 8 with stun, yeah, I'll take it.
All right. Next up, we got Mary Turn. +1 low block, 3 high 3. Them Lilith symbols. It's a weapon. This attack gets +2 damage and +2 speed. Only playable if you've at least played 2 copies of this attack this turn. This is one of her kill cards.
I don't think it's a kill, but I think it's a killer card. That was a really bad, lame playing words. This is good numbers though. 1 low block and it's got void on it, which is really strong. 3 high 3 is it is what it is. Her ability though is going to let her throw this twice, and that's when you'll be able to get that E for the pump, unless you randomly are holding 2 copies of this. If you're playing off water, you might be able to take better advantage of it too, because for instance, you could moon for another copy, something like that. So it's not it's not a bad card at all.
Alrighty, I like it, and again, this goes in Satoshi well.
Yeah.
Next up we got Killing Dinosaurs. So that's what happened.
This
It
is.
wasn't Jesus.
It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't meteors. It was
Huitzel.
Hoitzel.
Nothing but Huitzels. All those fireballs, Huitzels.
Oh my gosh.
+3 mid block. Huitzel symbols. Response after you response commit after the block step. Your attack gets +2 damage. This is a great card.
It's good for what Hoitzel does. Hoitzel's entire theme seems to be built around just doing stuff during the responses and like during before the block step, after the block step, stuff like that. So I I think it's interesting. I think Hoitzel's interesting. I have no idea if he's actually good or not. But he's at the very least he's interesting, and that's
We'll look at
interesting is
it.
always positive. So
Well, I mean, this is a really good card because on Earth throws, you're getting an additional +2 damage that they got. That even if they block the attack, you're bumping up whatever they take by half. Some fire attacks, they'll let go through, and then all of a sudden it's another +2 damage.
it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent because they're not going to know really until after the block step how much damage the attack's really for, and I think that is it really messes with battle math, and for anyone who's ever played super long games, especially in like tournaments and stuff, battle math is everything, and it's if you I'll give some love to Tim Keefe because Tim Keefe is the most amazing battle mather I've ever seen. This is the kind of stuff where you have to when you have a player like Tim where you gotta try and make him think and try and make him go, okay, he won't know how much this is going for until you make the decision on whether or not you're going to give this the 2 damage. So that's the kind of stuff you really need to have these kind of. I think that's what's going to make Hoitzel interesting, and I have no idea if it's going to make him a really good or not. But the fact that you won't really know how much damage is coming at you until the block step is a big deal. That's a really big deal when your opponent's trying to do battle math against you.
All right, next up we got Innocent Hug. God bless this child.
Uh,
We're gonna have issues. We're gonna have somebody looking over our shoulder when anybody plays a Lilith deck, and it won't be.
yeah, probably.
+3 mid block, 2 mid 3. Lilith symbols. It's a throw. It has enhanced if this attack is not blocked, your next control check to play an attack with a printed damage of 3 or less gets +3.
I think it's good. It fits Lilith's theme for sure. And this is one of these ones where like do they really want to waste the block on a 3 damage throw? And risk you getting, +3 to your check. I could see throwing this as maybe like the 3rd or 4th attack played on a 5 or 6, and really put a lot of pressure on your opponent to go, okay, do I want to eat 3 damage and give him +3 to the block, or do I want to waste a block to save 1 damage? It's tough. I think this card is the kind of stuff that Lilith will need to really push through damage and put a lot of pressure on her opponent to block stuff that they probably shouldn't.
And again, if we look back at Dinosaurs, if they let this through after the block step, it becomes a 2 mid 5.
Yep, exactly. And your opponent doesn't know what they're actually getting hit with until
it's too late.
Yep.
All right, next up we got Incomplete. I actually remember this artwork. This artwork came out in the Darkstalkers 3 manual. That's how old I am, people.
No, I remember. You're not that far from me. We're good. I was there for that.
+3 high block, Lilith symbols, enhance flip. If you have played 4 or more attacks this turn, name a foundation. Copies of that foundation do not ready during your opponent's next ready step, playable while committed.
Very particular card. The thing that makes this really useful, though, is playable while committed. Because if you're getting to a stage, especially with Lilith, you're going to have to be swinging by about turn. You pretty much have to go by turn 2 and start really at least trying to poke. Being playable while committed means that you can pass checks with this and still take advantage of the ability on it. So I think for Lilith in particular, this is really good. I don't know if in some other decks, if you're playing four or more attacks in a turn, it's usually a kill turn. For Lilith, I think this is going to be important just to not die. So I think I don't think this is bad. I think this is particularly good in Lilith. I don't know how useful it is in other characters. Just me personally, I think this is going to be more useful for Lilith though.
This could potentially slow some other characters down, like Iori, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. If you see he's got last ditch gambles or whatever. So it's in this situation. I think this card is going to be more for Lilith than other people, but it could be something else too.
Alright, what do we got next? We got Huitzel. Huitzel, and we will actually look at this one because he is a 3 difficulty character, so that means he is a stacking character. He's also 6 hand size, 27 health. He's Earth, Fire, Void. You can discard a character card from your hand or your staging area after the ready phase and draw 2 cards. He has response after the block step of your attack. Discard the top 4 cards of your deck. Your attack gets plus X damage, where X is the difference between the highest and lowest controls among those cards discarded this way. I think his first ability is really, really good. I'm not so sure about the second one because you're milling yourself.
I think they're both good, and this is where I do think Hoitzel could end up being the best Darkstalkers character. I'm not 100%. I've never built it. I don't know. This is where that question mark is. It's once again after the block step of the attack, discard 4. Yeah, so it's going to get somewhere. It's going to get somewhere between like 2 to 3 damage probably on most attacks, and it's going to be after the block step. So your opponent doesn't know exactly how much damage you're getting hit with. Discard a character card. That means you're basically going to just play 4 copies of him. He's 7'3", 500 pounds, so he's Shaq. I think he's actually. I think he's good. I don't know how good. I don't know what tier he'd be on. I don't like doing the tier list stuff until we get to tournaments. I know that's a big thing on the forums. Is the official tier list? I'll watch my language BS.
I don't believe in tier lists.
I mean, they're a thing, but like, how do you just look at a picture of a character and go, okay, this guy's this tier? When there was a point in time where people didn't think, just looking at pictures, people didn't think Chin was crazy. Like, it all comes down to like Scott Simon and Garrett showing up in Vegas with crazy Chin decks, and that's when we realized Chin's busted. Or Drew Maffei taking Maxima, who we figured was pretty good, and then just busting him wide open and going, okay, Maxima's crazy. Like, it's hard to go, okay, this guy's on a tier. So I think Hoitzel's got the potential to be a really good character. I'm not going to bother giving him a tier or anything, but I think he's solid. I don't know if he's a world champion character or if he's the top end of the fun tier, but he's solid at least. I think he might be the best of the Darkstalkers characters.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
All right, onward. Somebody got dumped. That's sad. Anyways, her own will. Lilith symbols. Response, discard 1 momentum. After your non-throw attack deals 3 or less damage, is completely blocked. It still deals 1 damage during the damage step. Only playable once per turn.
That's very restrictive for discarding momentum. I'll be honest, I don't really like it. I mean, not only is she friend zoning Jeddah, who's one of my favorite Darkstalkers characters, but
that's not friend zoning. You just flat out dumped him.
Oh, that's just She's gonna leave him. She's got to go work on her own feelings, and it's not you, it's me, Jeddah. But
really,
that's that's a classic. All right, done with the dating game stuff. But anyway, I don't think this card's particularly good. I think the discard momentum cost. This could have just been R after your non-throw attack with 3 or less damage is completely blocked. It still deals 1 damage, only playable once per turn. Like, that could have just been R or like R commit or something like that. Like, this card, I don't.
Well,
at
how
least
many
throw a
effects
block
do you
on it.
have in the game now that are on hit effects?
Because I just don't. I don't know. I'm sure that there's stuff where if this attack deals damage, yada yada, but I don't see it here. I just, it's just shooting for the hit there. I'm sure there's someone's going to have some combo and I'm going to look really stupid in 2 months, but For the time being, I just don't like that card.
All right.
It just doesn't do it for me.
I will say this card has potential, but I do not know what some of the key on-hit effects are. But we'll just move on. I will think neither good nor bad of this card at the moment. Heal Slash. +1 high block, or mid block, excuse me. 2 high 4 Lilith or Morgan symbols. Man, I am batting 1,000 on this one.
There you go.
Kick and stun 1.
I like it in Robert Garcia.
Yeah.
That's about it. I wouldn't run it in Morgan. I wouldn't run it in a lot of stuff. I'd run it in Robert Garcia off death, and that would be it. And I'm sure someone's gonna have some other deck where they run it because it's not like horrible numbers or anything. 2 4 +1 mid. It's got stun on it. It only costs 3, but like, I don't see it. I'm sure that there's decks that can make use of it, but it feels more like a Robert Garcia kick than anything.
All right. Well, I won't argue that point. I definitely see where you're coming from. People are starting fireworks early.
It's all the same here. Yeah.
Hedonist. I am okay with this card. Morgan symbols. Response. After your opponent fails a control check, your next control check gets +1. Response. After you fail a control check, your combat phase does not end. This bottom one is very important. Because if you do check a 2 and this potentially saves your turn and you could potentially kill them even if you screw up a check.
I could see throwing a copy or 2 into a lot of decks just for that reason too. I think the first R is very limited. That's going to be more to like Vincent Gray and stuff like that. Or Morgan herself because I believe she's got to check out. Excuse me. I think that second R though, I think the R Destroy is pretty useful.
You just got to know when to use it.
Exactly, and it's going to be at the end of a long string where you need to check a 5, and you check either you need to. I don't know. I wish it just let you recheck, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I just it's interesting. I can see that being a copy or 2 in a lot of decks.
Plus, this actually has good artwork.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
She's beating up Gaston.
Growing Board. Morgan symbols. Response. After you add this card to your staging area during your end phase, you may, and if you've played exactly 1 attack this turn, draw a card. Free draw. Just try and try for a poke.
This kind of goes with the theme of throwing 1 attack and then like just building. I don't think it's as bad as the discard one because at least you get something out of it.
Yeah.
And it's a 1/6. It's okay. Just okay. I'd have to look at the other 2. I know with Death I wouldn't run this, but on the other 2 you might. I'd have to look at the rest of the lineups, but like with Death, Death's got a lot of good spam as it is. It'd be very hard to kind of take a 1/6 with no block over some of the ones that just like if you're gonna run, you're gonna probably run Mourning the Lost, which is a 1/4 with no block. How many non-block spams do you want? Like, but on Evil in Life, you might still run this.
Right. I can see it as spam for Death as well. Again, I like the fact that this doesn't affect your opponent. It just affects you, and it gets you a free attack just for a poke. And maybe it'll be a poke that goes through, so damage and a free card, and then you continue to build. So, it's not bad. We've seen worse. We've seen better.
Absolutely. There's way worse stuff than that, and that's not horrible. It's just it might be it's going to be a tough fit in some decks, but I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah. Next up, Donovan. We already talked about Donovan because he was our spoiler card for you guys.
Yeah, our Total Justice Gaming exclusive spoiler. We talked about him a little bit. I mean, if you want to reread him or something, that's fine.
Yeah, we will. 6 hand size, 27 health, death, good, order. Enhance your weapon or ranged attack gets +1 damage for each card in your card pool with the printed range or weapon keyword. He also has first form, choose 2 of your opponent's foundations or assets. Your opponent chooses one of your foundation or accent or assets. Abilities on those chosen cards cannot be played till the start of your next turn. Um, I like him a lot, especially because he works so well with the Mega Man stuff. Uh, this enhance, if you play a long string of stuff, the attacks get pretty deadly, especially as it keeps going along. Especially with the Mega Man stuff. Potentially, you could also run, I believe, Bomb Man stuff in him too, which are weapon or ranged. Um, the first form, you get to choose two, he gets to choose one, so that's really good. But he could potentially, with the symbols he has, you're dealing in a territory where a lot of the cards you'll be running are unique, and they could potentially be shutting off one of your unique cards that you need. So I'm more inclined to like him more off of the first ability than I am the form, but that's just me.
I actually like both, and I think, I heard some debates when we were in Atlanta and stuff. We were talking about like what Darkstalkers stuff we thought was going to be the best, and some people are really down on Donovan. I actually think Donovan's pretty good.
Well,
I
that's because we're remembering the old Donovan, which was absolutely ballistically nuts.
and I don't remember him. I've just finally got around to start getting legacy stuff. I just got my first copies of Pull of the Tides. I was really pumped. The But I think the first form actually is pretty good. You're going to lose a foundation or asset, so it's going to be hard to be really reliant on something like line stance, which is going to like if you have line stance, it's getting blanked. I can tell you that right now. The thing that's nice though is that because you can choose to also, you don't just die to nailed it. With your because nailed it would just respond on your E. You won't lose to line stance. You can blank whatever's going to give you the biggest trouble. If you're going for some sort of combo stuff, you just blank the Kopukins. I just think like I think it's pretty good. I think it's a good trade. Just you don't want to be super reliant on one foundation or one asset if you're Donovan. So that way, if they do blank, blank one of your foundations or assets, it doesn't cripple you. But I think he's good. I think he's really solid.
All right, next up we got Dream Thief. Morgan symbols. It's a +3 low block. Respond and flip. Before your opponent draws one or more cards due to their effects, look at the top card of their deck. You may discard it. I actually like this because this essentially controls what they'll be drawing from that draw effect.
It's such an I'm gonna swear, sorry guys. This is such an asshole card too.
It is.
The whole idea is that before your opponent would draw, you keep them from ripping whatever you think is a nice card, or if you look at it, you go, all right, they can have that. The other thing that I do like about it too is that it's hand knowledge, so you know, like if you flip and look at it, and you see that it's something awful, you know that they're holding a horrible card. If you see they're gonna be say grabbing a Kaplow, you go, well, no, you're not going to grab Kaplow. We're good here. So I think this is a terrific card. I think it's a terrific asshole card. I do think it's a very good card. I think I'd totally run this card.
This is definitely a spam card worth running.
Absolutely. I think it's good. 1/5, 3 low block. I don't have a lot of bad stuff to say about it, honestly. I think it's a solid card.
Other than you're probably going to be looked at as a jerk when the match.
You will, but hey,
but you'll get over it quickly.
I played Vespera. There's no, I have people can. I'm cool with it. You can call me a jerk all you want. That's fine.
All right. Next up, we got Eternal Beauty. Morgan symbols again. You know, I've noticed that there's not a lot of symbol variation this time around. It's just straight up the character symbols.
And that's as a design choice on some of the sets to have the random one-off symbol thing, and I think it's great that the support sticks to the character that it's meant for in these cases. I'm okay with that.
Not to mention it makes our job so much easier.
Oh, absolutely. We can just say Morgan symbols.
All right. Continuing, we have Enhanced Commit. Your opponent's next control check gets -1. Failing this check will not end their combat phase, and your next control check gets +1. Again, I would be running 4 of these in anything I can run them in because hacking control checks is fun if you have the patience and tolerance for that stuff. I learned well because I was in that meta of Blood Runs True, so I've gotten all that anger and rage out of my system. On top of that, by hacking them, you're giving yourself a bonus, which is even better because you can hack their check for an attack. They still pass it, and it's a ridiculously high speed attack. You're going to pass it because you hacked their check and gave yourself a +1.
I think this in conjunction with Dream Thief and maybe like some Vincent Grace support and military uniform, you just be the ultimate D-bag deck and just hack their checks and make it really boring for them. And if they want to draw anything cool, you get rid of it and make your opponent just get salty and scoop to you. I think that's the strategy with these cards, is just get them to scoop.
And we're slowly starting to see the Morgan stuff progressively get better, by the way. Have you noticed?
I think Morgan's support has some interesting cards.
When they're not dealing with her key mechanic, they're really good.
I think.
You're cutting in and out again, Mark. Did we lose Mark?
All right, I'm here. All right, we got this.
Okay, there we go.
I'm back. We got it.
All right, next up, finishing shout. God bless you people with your name.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Oh, God in heaven.
Peter
All right.
North. All right.
+1 high block, 3 mid, 7. Morgan symbols, powerful 2 and ranged. Does Mega Man have life?
No.
Oh, thank God. You may discard attacks from your hand in addition to momentum to pay for the powerful's cost. That actually works out a little bit better. Enhance, this attack gets +1 speed for every 2 attacks in your discard pile. This is a good finisher for Morgan because it works off her abilities. You potentially, with some of her support, get some of your stuff back from the KO pile. Because I think we had a card like that. It's been a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I think this card's really good, and this is one of these sort of. This is another one of these like later game, like sort of just take over. I mean, I'm sure people are going to try and find a way to make this super aggressive and maybe like play as mature or something like that, and just pass the check real low and play a lot of attacks and not worry about if you check an attack on it. I think this card actually has more potential in a later game though, where that +1 speed for every 2 attacks can be 7-8 speed, which could get because you only to get it's a 3 base. If you have like 8 to 10 attacks in your discard pile, which isn't out of the question in a long game, it's going to be fast as hell. And if you're holding a few attacks, the powerful on it gets really useful. So that could be a really big attack. +1 high block is really nice too. I think that's a nice card. I don't know how I'd theme the whole deck around it, but it's a really good card, I think.
I think she's probably actually better and mature than she is maybe Morgan.
I think so too.
All right, next up we have Fulfilled in Battle. Lilith symbols. Response commit. After you make a control check to block an attack with a damage of 3 or less, printed damage of 3 or less, that check gets +2. Add that attack from your card pool to your hand during the end phase. Ooh, that's a mouthful. All right, so if we block with any of Lilith's stuff, we get +2 to the check, and it goes back to our hand, and we get to play out an attack turn the next following turn.
It's pretty good. This is a pretty good card.
Good.
This is good. I think this reminds me a little bit of Deadly Precision, which is I think that's the name of it, right? Deadly Precision, the Zoe card, where if you block with a ranged attack, you can add it back to your hand. This is a little more laid back version. It's easier to block the one attack, and it'll come back to your hand during the end phase instead of just back instantly. But it's a really, I think it's a solid card. If you're running lots of cheap attacks, if you're Lilith, you're gonna run this. I think this is a pretty good card for what it does. I'm no real complaints about this one. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Next up we have Genocide Vulcan, +2 high block, 3 low 4. It's got them Huitzel symbols. It's ranged. You get to skip. You have to skip this attacks enhance step. It also has enhance after you play, or not enhance, bleh, just static. After you play this card, after you play this attack, discard the top 4 cards of your deck. This attack gets +1 damage for each unique control check checked among the cards discarded this way. So this potentially makes it, I was going to say maybe +1 or +2 if you're lucky.
It's up to 4. I mean, it's going to be minimum. I would say realistically, you're going to at least get 2.
Uh,
I So it's going to be like a 3 low for 6. I don't love the 2 check on it. I don't think it's going to do enough damage for it to be worth the 2, but it's an interesting card. It fits what Hoytzel does. I mean, people immediately are already going, oh, well, Conch Blast and Genocide Vulcan off of Void, and like, all right, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I, I, I don't know. That's a lot of 2s. I don't think it's a bad card. I think if you're going off Void, you're going to go Conch Blast and leave this one out, but the other 2, you might still run this.
mm-hmm. I really don't have too much to put in on it. Again, you said it. I mean, if you're running it in Void, Conch Blast is the better card. Realistically, out of 4 cards, if you're running a decent deck, you're not going to have too much variation in your control checks anyways, because the majority of your deck is going to be 5 checks to begin with. So you'll get +1 damage and make it 3 low for 5. If you're lucky and check an attack along in those 4, you'll get a +2, but that's about it. Next up, we have Glacial Assault. 3 +3 high block, Sasquatch symbols. Stackability of after this foundation is destroyed, add the top card of your deck to your staging area face down. It also has a enhance. Enhance your attack with a printed difficulty of 5 or more, gets +1 speed. And
Solid. That's all right. Nothing fancy. It fits the Sasquatch theme. If you're running the expensive cards, 5 or more, a free 1 speed isn't bad. I don't think it's. I think it's all right. I just think it's okay. Nothing fancy here though.
alrighty, up next we got Granted a Body.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, I know. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
This is a made for speed card without a block at a higher difficulty.
Mm-hmm. It lets you stack a 6 check.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever. I could see maybe a copy or 2 if you were, like there might be this instance where I need to stack a 6, but that would be about it.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Detachable Body, +3 mid block, and Akara symbols. It's unique. Response after you partially block an attack, gain 1 vitality. That's not bad. Helps keep you alive if you got enough of them. Well, you only can have 1 of them. Never mind. Enhance remove after the ready phase. Name a zone. All of your block zones become name zone for the rest of the turn. Well,
if you know that they're only going to be running 1 zone, or you have a hard time blocking a particular zone, you can try and, I guess, change it so that the block zones are. I don't know. It's okay.
Not worrying a lot about low blocks.
Maybe. It's situated. This card's very situational.
Yeah,
I don't think it's absolutely horrible. I just think it's situational.
Yeah. All right, the booty card.
Oh God.
Deadly Needle. It's got QB symbols. Enhance commit. Choose 1 card in either player's momentum. That card may not be removed from that player's momentum for the rest of the turn. Okay, this is a card that I actually saw talked about a lot, and either people really, really loved it, or people didn't see the point of it. Me personally, I see the point of this card diffuses piercing howls by making sure the player can't mess with it once it's in the momentum. Other people just don't see it. I like it.
There's some use beyond piercing hull too. Like if they've only got one momentum and they're trying to set up trib, you can keep them from playing the multiple on trib.
Yeah.
It's got its uses. It's very limited, but it does have its uses. I could see this as a you know a copy maybe a copy or two, or maybe just side it against momentum based decks. So I don't think it's totally useless. I think there's uses for it. I think the uses are kind of limited, but it's limited enough that you might still throw it into like a sideboard or something.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Curiosity. Little symbols. A static effective at the start of your end phase. If you've played 3 or more attacks, ready this foundation. Also, enhance commit. Add 1 copy of this card from your discard pile to your hand. You know, in Lilith, this is almost a Shinobi tradition to a degree at the end phase, because if you're playing her, you're almost guaranteed to be playing at least 3 attacks.
Yeah, you basically have to, and I think that with this particular card, I think this, especially for Lilith, is really important. It fuels her speed pump by allowing you to pick up more copies of this from your discard pile as you check them. I think it's solid. I think it's a nice card. I don't know if it'll get a lot of play outside of Lilith, but it's not a bad card by any means. I get it. I get the point of it. So if you're Lilith, run it for sure. And then if you're anyone else, if you feel you need it, give it a shot. But I think it's going to be more a Lilith card than anything.
Yeah, and this goes back to that defensive ability that we were talking in Lilith. This lets you be able to block stuff later game. Once you finish your end step, you play at least a couple attacks. All your copies of this will ready. You'll probably have at least 2 to 3 in play by late game. This will let you block stuff.
Yep.
That's about it. All right. Conflicting ambitions. +3 mid block. Okay, these are not Morgan symbols. I don't know whose symbols they are. So, all chaos and water. Enhance flip. Both players draw a card. Enhance flip. If this attack deals damage, each player chooses 1 card in their opponent's discard pile, and that opponent shuffles the chosen card back into their deck. This is a okay card.
Okay.
I'm not too keen on letting the opponent draw. I am more keen on, once again, shutting down a way for when the moon comes over the mountain, because if this stack deals damage, you can, well, it's got to deal damage. So, well, I mean, it's this attack. So, if they deal damage, you can play this enhance, let the attack go through, and if they moon, they may not have something to target.
And also for like situations I ran into playing as Vespera and stuff too, a big target when you're facing Vespera is to try and get rid of Paralyzing Touch. So it's something like that where like it puts pressure on her to have to try and stop this attack so that you don't get rid of her Paralyzing Touches and stuff like that too. So
or even worse attack on her.
I think that's I think it's interesting, and I think it's not. I think it's really interesting that one and Fool Me Twice both have all, so that could put a lot of pressure on doing damage to your opponent's discard pile. So I think it's a good card for what it is. I don't think it's horrible.
All right. Next card, Blizzard Sword. +1 high block, 3 high 5. It's got them Donovan symbols. Multiple 1 and ranged. God, Mega Man's gonna have fun with this card. Enhance. If this attack, enhance. If the next attack you play this turn is a weapon attack, that attack gains stun 2, and you may discard all multiple copies of this card from your card pool.
I think it's solid. It fits Donovan and what he does. It doesn't have a 2-track, thank God. I think there's a place in the UFS world for this card. I could see this even in something like I could see like Good Andrew Alexa, where you can bump the multiple, make a multiple 2 would be really nice. I think.
And I'm sorry about the popping in the background, guys. People down here are celebrating the 4th of July on the 3rd of July. I don't know why.
Oh, I was lighting M150s yesterday, so yeah, it's okay. I got it. But I think this is a good card. +1 high block is really great. I like this card a lot. I think it's really solid.
What do we got next? We got the Big Blow. Oh, God in heaven. +1 mid block, 3 mid for 6. It's got them Sasquatch symbols. Powerful 2, punch. First enhance. This attack loses its powerful and gains +2 speed, so it potentially becomes 5 mid 6. Response after you discard a momentum to pay the cost of the powerful ability, this attack gets +2 damage for each attack with a printed difficulty of 5 or more discarded this way. So essentially, you're really getting powerful 4.
It's interesting. If it's Sasquatch, I think it's got really good numbers. Because the first E isn't relegated to just Sasquatch, so essentially it's a 5 mid for 6 with a 1 mid block on it. So that's pretty solid, man. I'm sure that there's it's not registering, but I'm sure there's other characters that could really take advantage of that too and really beef that punch up. But
Reese.
yeah, it could. Yeah, Reese. You could say use it in Reese or something like that. I think it's a pretty solid card though. I like it. I'm sure it's going to find some play somewhere. That's too good of numbers to not be running in some decks.
Skullman, good deck. Vincent, good punch.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you do good punches, stuff like that. It's not bad.
All right. I initially hated this card, and because I didn't understand what it was, and Mark had to set me straight. Becoming 1, +1 mid block. Death, life, void, and water. Enhance your face-up attack. Gets with a printed difficulty of 3 or less. Gets +2 damage. If this attack is not blocked, add this card to your hand. Or form reveal 1 copy of this card in your hand. Turn one of your opponent's foundations face down and turn your face down foundations face up.
I think the big thing on this card that's going to make it more useful, I think the form is very limited because you essentially have to have 2 copies of it in your hand to take advantage of it. Because you have to play it and then reveal another copy in your hand. But I think the E on it actually is pretty good. Your face-up attack, it gets the 2 damage, and then if they don't block it, this card goes right back to your hand, so your next one gets the enhanced too. So it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to block. Otherwise, you're just going to pick this card back up. And even what you could also do is just at the end of a string when you know they're done blocking your stuff, and you're just going to keep swinging as much as you can. You could use that, and on your last attack, you've just picked up a +1 mid block too. So it's not a bad card. I think it's going to see more play in Lilith once again than anyone else.
I was going to say, though,
it's not that it's bad.
Early attack strings is counterintuitive to Lilith's ability because Lilith wants you to only be hitting early game in the early strings for 3 or less damage.
Exactly, yeah.
So this really is a late game card.
It's later, yeah. She doesn't have a late game, but she has a later game.
All right. Beauty can overcome. There's a One Piece reference in this. The Morgan symbols. It's unique. Response, remove, and discard 1 card, 1 momentum. After your combat phase begins, reveal your hand. Discard all non-attack cards revealed this way, then drop to your hand size.
I'm going to chime in right now and say that I think this is the best card in the Darkstalkers tins, period. I don't even think it's close. I think this card's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, this essentially sets you up to be able to kill.
We heard you like kill turn, so we built you a kill turn. 3/5 unique, so just get 1 copy of it and play. Discard momentum, you reveal your hand, and if you draw the dog poopy hand of like 1 attack and 5 foundations, pitch all those foundations and then try 5 more times to get more attacks to kill your opponent. This card is nutty. I think it's the best card in Darkstalkers for sure, and I've seen all this stuff. I don't think there's anything close. I think this is on its own tier. I would run this in every deck with the symbols without question. Not a doubt in my mind. I'd run this card. I think it's absolutely terrific. This is what I think the world needs a few more cards like this because I don't think it's super busted, but I think it's good enough. Like I think we're at a point where there's too many tools and not enough. I think we actually do need staples. Yeah, I think we actually do need some damage pumps and some aggression and some staples, and I think we need more cards like this. I think this card's terrific.
I'll have to play it or look at it and work with it. I don't understand the card well enough, but I do get that this is setting up, helping you set up for a kill turn.
Oh, Beauty can overcome, man. Just to anyone that's wondering, like you reveal your hand, and when you know you're like, okay, let me draw attacks, and they're dead. Reveal your hand. I've got 2 attacks in hand. Well, I'm going to take in 4 foundations. I'm going to pitch these 4 foundations to get 4 more shots at getting more attacks. They're dead. This is the are you dead yet kind of card. It's really good.
All right. Next up, a dying race. Uh, +3 mid block. QB symbols. Enhance commit. Your attack gets +1 speed, +1 damage. Response destroy. After your opponent makes a control check to play a card with a form ability printed on it, that check gets -2. If it fails, add that card to your opponent's momentum, and their combat phase does not end.
Um, I
Free +1/+1.
a free +1/+1. I don't get it. I don't. This card just I don't know. It makes control to play card with a form ability printed on it.
This
If you
put
really hate a particular foundation,
Well, this also could also, like, if they're playing Dying, Dying has a form enhance on it, so that potentially puts Dying into the momentum. Or not Dying,
ugh.
puts Becoming One into the momentum.
I mean, if you really hate Lion Stance or something, and you have this, you built first, and you get this, and they try to play Lion Stance, maybe. But like, I don't know. That's a lot of work to art destroy to give them momentum. I can't. Hmm.
So it's a +1/+1.
Yep, it's you commit +1/+1 on a 2/5. I'm good. I'll pass on that card.
Okay. Next. Land of the Moroku. Uh, don't know whose symbols this is, so it's air, good, and life. This foundation may not be committed by the opponent's effects. Ooh, anti-stun effects. Nice. Um, enhance commit if you have no ready foundations. Ready one foundation that has not been ready this combat phase.
I've heard a lot of comps to Torn Hero, which is kind of a reach. It's not really Torn Hero, but
Not torn
um,
here by
no, Torn Hero is a whole nother beast. What this does do though, it can't be stunned, and it basically guarantees that you're going to have whatever your most important one foundation is on your opponent's turn. You're going to have that. So I think it's a solid card. I don't think it's 4 of randomly. I like it's spam, but I don't think it's 4 of. I think 2 copies is probably straight because you really only need one. Um, I I could see this. I think this is going to get a lot of play though in decks of all different tiers. I think are going to play this deck or this card in them. So I think it's a pretty good card. That's all. I don't. There's nothing fancy in this one. It's a pretty good card. You're going to always have your best foundation ready.
All right. Anacharis. 6 hand size, 26 health, air, all, and life. After an attack's static ability of after an attack, speed or damage is modified due to an opponent's effect. Ready him. He also has enhanced commit gain a life, enhanced commit draw a discard, enhanced commit ready one foundation that has not been ready this combat phase. So you're pretty much banking on them doing something to your attack in order to take after you've used him.
The problem I also have though is like even if you do enhance on him and commit him for abilities, like you don't get anything crazy out of it. Like, do I really want to commit him to gain a life? Like, I just um,
Well, I mean, since he has air, you potentially can discard attack and then get it back with Playboy and get 2 cards.
um,
Eh.
we're reaching, man. We're trying to be really nice about this. I don't. I don't know if he. Okay, I know he's not very good, and
We'll just agree that Pharaoh's Salvation is the best
I
anti-chaos.
think his attack is better than he is because I think there's going to be some other characters that have cool effects with their characters because I don't think he particularly has any great effects. Um, I think I think you're better off just get a character that's got a cool E commit or form commit effect on him, and then use his attack to re-ready them, but don't use him.
Right. Next. All right. Avoiding responsibilities. I don't even know where to begin with that picture. Response or not plus 3 mid block. Morgan symbols. Form. Look at the top card of each player's deck. Or enhance commit. Look at the top card of each player's deck.
Um, it's all right. It's got synergy. She had some stuff that she had that other card earlier where if it was an attack, you could draw it. So you could use this to kind of fuel that and try and help with your draw. So it's not. It's got its uses. It's gonna be niche, but um, it's there's gonna be decks that'll find ways to run it.
It's okay. I mean, it goes with their ability of looking. That way you know what's coming. All right, final card of the set. Tainted Blood, plus 3 low block. Donovan symbols. First enhance, commit, choose one of your ready foundations. Your attack gets plus X speed, where X is the chosen foundation's printed difficulty. Abilities of chosen foundation cannot be played until the beginning of your next turn.
Ugh. Um, this
Uh,
fits. This fits basically like this is gonna fit kind of with Donovan's theme. Your opponent once your opponent's you do the form and your opponent's gonna choose to stop one of your foundations. Um, so the idea here is that you would first decommit and give the attack speed, and you would most likely choose the foundation that they had blanked, because it already doesn't have abilities anyway. So if they blank it, it doesn't really matter. So that's kind of where this is coming in. It's good spam in Donovan, I think, more than anybody. I don't know if I'd want to blank one of my own cards. I mean, yeah, I guess situationally you could, but it's good. It's good spam. I think it's going to be more useful in Donovan than anybody else.
my question is, you choose one of your foundations. Does that mean all copies of that chosen foundation can't be used, or just that one
Just
particular
that
copy?
one copy. Choose one of your ready foundations.
That's not super horrible then.
No, it's not super horrible. It's one of those like in the idea here, and this is more with that trade-off with Donovan, where they're going to pick one of your foundations, you're going to pick two of theirs. You just choose whatever one they decided to blank. So since it's blanked anyway, who cares? I'm just going to give it speed off of that, and it's blanked anyway. So that would be kind of the use for Tainted Blood. So it fits Donovan's thing, but it's not bad. I get the point of it. Like I don't think it's horrible. I don't know if you'd run it outside of Donovan, but it's really good. It's good for Donovan.
It's not a curse blood, but it's a blood.
No, it's bloodish. It's not you're not busting out your little 1/4s with 3 low blocks and killing foundations.
And that's it for the set, guys. So
Oh my
we'll
God.
do
If you
the.
guys sat through 2 hours of us rambling about this, I love you all. And we did just about 2 hours. That's pretty
Yeah, I
good.
told you cutting out the difficulty and control will save us some time.
Did as much as we could. When we get to the full sets, we'll probably do them in parts.
We'll do it by parts. I
Yeah,
mean,
it'll
I
probably be two-parters.
4 hours of that.
Because I can only imagine if they do core sets like Red Horizon and stuff. I know they talked about bringing back cards for Red Horizon, the next Red Horizon, and if they do more with Mega Man and such, and DarkStalkers, we'll be here a while if we have to talk 100 and something cards. But I really appreciate anyone who watched this and chiming in, and I'm glad we got feedback at the moment. I know that people are watching live too because the moment we started talking about QB, my Facebook inbox blew up with people telling me that QB's gender was a typo, and So I'm glad. I appreciate anyone who's watching, anyone who's stuck through 2.5 hours of us
Don't
talking.
forget to check your Twitter, see if we got questions there.
I did. I've been keeping tabs on it. I keep looking away, and it's not me being rude. I'm actually checking because my phone doesn't like to alert me when Twitter goes off. So I've been looking for tweets. No tweets. That's fine with me. Whatever. We'll keep doing it. But seriously, anyone who watched, man, I really appreciate it. This is why we do this. Is we just love talking UFS, and
Yep.
it's always good to have new cards coming out. So it's exciting times right now.
Yep. That's it for tonight. Next week we will be discussing Mark's sensational journey down to Atlanta, and we will talk about briefly my own little journey. It will not be UFS related, but I did well enough to think that it warranted some stuff. And Tim is telling us that the next set is 144 cards. Yeah, we are so splitting that into
Yeah,
two.
that's gonna be two parts because I really don't want to do 4 hours of whatever the next set is.
So it's 70, we'll do one 72 card batch, and then we'll do another 72 card batch.
That works for me.
But yes, so next week, our incredible journeys to the tops of our events.
Woo! Total Justice Gaming, top cutting events now. This is some scary stuff.
Yeah, just mine's not UFS, but I'll take what I can
Hey,
get.
that's okay. But I once again though, guys, like, subscribe, um, follow me on Twitter, Mark W Slam. Same with Instagram, Mark W Slam. Um,
Or my
that
Twitter, Joe10, the letter, numbers 10, L and O.
Yeah, follow both of us. I've been making a point. I do tweet a little more now. I Instagram a little bit. Um, I'm still getting the hang of it. I don't like doing selfies and stuff, so I avoid the selfie game. But yeah, I appreciate anyone watching, and I honestly, Eddie, I'll talk more about Atlanta next week. But that was an amazing time. So thanks to Matthew Curtis Turner for putting me up at his house, and that was a terrific weekend.
Yep. All right, guys, take care, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Slam.